Is there a criminal nexus here? Is this person just, in this case, is this person just missing, not want to be found, need some more time, or is there something that has happened to him?
That was Sheriff Michael Taylor with the Pittsylvania County Sheriff's Department discussing the case of missing person Robert, or as he's called, Robbie, Hurt. Is there a criminal nexus in this case? Is there enough detail to even determine that in terms of the media that's been put out there? Not a whole lot of media, but thankfully I've also been contacted by someone very close to the family. I've got some details. Let's see if we can raise exposure for Robbie. It's time to turn on the searchlight. Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Brainscratch Searchlight. Let's go ahead and jump right into this case. Here is a poster that was put together by the Aware Foundation. They've also been talking about Robbie's case online, trying to raise exposure. We see several pictures of him here. 37 years old. For hair color, they note that he is bald, but he does have brown facial hair. I would assume that if his hair was growing in, it probably would be brown as well. His height is 5 foot 8 inches tall. His weight is around 185 pounds. Robert Hurt was last seen at a friend's house. Now, here they state that it was in Danville, but all the other information I'm reviewing, plus the contact that I've been speaking to, states that the friend's house was actually in North Carolina. Basically, Robbie didn't live too far from the border there, and we're going to find out very soon that his vehicle is found very close to that border as well. His friend says that he left in the middle of a major snowstorm. His truck was later found in a ditch on Goodyear Boulevard on December 12th. Robert's phone has been turned off and goes directly to voicemail. His wallet was found at that friend's house, so he has no money or identification. He has a small tribal tattoo on his upper left arm. Unfortunately, I could not find a photo of that tattoo, but let's learn a little bit more about where this is happening. Let's jump over to Wikipedia. Pittsylvania County is a county located in the Commonwealth of Virginia. As of the 2010 census, the population was 63,506. It's the largest county in Virginia by land area and the second largest by total area. The county is bounded on the north by the Roanoke River, intersected by the Bannister River through the center, and drained by the Dan River on the south. So that is the area. Let's take a look at the map. Ringgold is actually the name of Robbie's hometown that he's living at this time. He's actually not from this area, but we can see it marked here. And this line is taking us to the spot where his vehicle was found. Now, I've heard a couple of different descriptions about where the vehicle was found. Some say that it was actually close to South Main Street and Goodyear Boulevard, which would be more like over here. However, he disappears on December 9th. His vehicle's not found until the 12th. I saw a news story where they were actually saying that it was found at the corner of Twin Oaks and Goodyear Boulevard. So that's the pin mark that I've put in here. And it kind of makes more sense because this looks like a main thoroughfare. Is it really going to be sitting at the side of the road and no one's taking notice of it for a number of days? If it's here as opposed to over here, I don't think so. And let's just jump on to the satellite view real quick so you can get a bit of an understanding of the area. So once again, a couple of services over here close to South Main Street and off of Goodyear Boulevard. We get back into here, a lot of brush, some sporadic homes. It's really, I believe that the vehicle was found back here. It just makes more sense in terms of how long it took them to actually locate it. Let's jump into some of the news sources and see what we can learn, starting with the Chatham Star-Tribune. Pittsylvania County man reported missing, and this was on December 21st, 2018. That's actually one of the challenging aspects of this case. Of course, we started with a video from a press conference that had happened, and the sheriff was very clear about the fact that we know Robbie goes missing on December 9th, but he's not actually registered as a missing person until I believe it's December 15th. And right in the middle of that, we have his vehicle being found on December 12th. The source that I've been talking to says the vehicle was actually spotted potentially as early as December 11th at that same spot. So, we've already got the local law enforcement kind of behind the 8 ball in terms of getting into this case in a timely fashion because, the family just didn't report it that quickly. But then media has to try to catch up with that, and that's what we're seeing here. So this is one of the earlier articles, but it came out on December 21st, 2018. Pittsylvania County Sheriff's Office Captain Corey Webb said Robert Isaac Hurt, 37, was reported missing on December 14th, according to this article. As of Friday, December 28th, there have been no updates on his whereabouts, according to the Pittsylvania County Sheriff's Office. Hurt's wife stated she hadn't seen him since the 9th, Captain Webb said. Yes, so we have a wife that is wondering where her husband is. He has 3 children wondering where their father is. A lot of family very concerned, especially now that we're looking back on this a few months later, and there are still no major developments on this case. Hurt's truck was spotted recently on Goodyear Boulevard. However, he has not been located. Let's jump to a posting at Facebook, once again by the Aware Foundation, and see if we can get some more detail. Once again, they're talking about him being seen at the friend's house. Just keep in mind, it's not in Danville, it's in North Carolina. But we get another little nugget of information from this post. He was there between the hours of 4 to 5 p.m. on December 9th, 2018. Then once again, they're saying he left in the middle of a major snowstorm. Now, I did pull a report from AccuWeather.com. This is posted on December 11th, 2018, but they have a graph that shows this is snowfall that actually happened from the 9th and through that. Monster snowstorm blankets the Carolinas and Virginia with feet of snow. And we can see on this chart they've got down here, certain areas were getting on the low end 11.7 inches, and on the high end it was going as much as 15.2 inches. So that is a lot of snowfall coming down very, very rapidly. And I do believe that might be a factor in this case. Now, at the press conference, they were saying that they felt pretty confident with the searches. They've done 2 searches around where his vehicle was found. They've brought out cadaver dogs. They've done some drone searching. They have not been able to locate anything, but they didn't think that the weather was hampering them too much, according to what they said at the press conference. Let's continue with more information at godanriver.com. Authorities continue search. This is an article from January 24th, 2019. Authorities reported Hurt was last known to have been wearing green and blue shoes, gray socks, and black pants. Kind of interesting for a clothing description because we're talking about his shoes, his socks, and his pants. We're not mentioning what type of shirt he was wearing, and with the weather that was going on there, very highly likely that he probably had some kind of jacket or outer shell, maybe even a sweater in between the 2 of those things. So I don't know why you would have such fine detail to be able to talk about what color socks he had, but we have no description at all on the shirt or any type of outerwear. And I don't know where this description is coming from. Basically, the story seems to be that there was some type of argument at his home. He left the home. So I don't know if this description is coming from his wife or maybe some other family members that were at the home where this dispute took place, or if this description is coming from the friend that he went to see in North Carolina. The Danville Police Department and Caswell County, North Carolina Sheriff's Office are working with Pittsylvania County authorities in the search. Now, I got to say, I'm kind of happy to hear that. There's one thing that keeps going through my mind here, the possibility that he fell victim to a crime of some kind. And if we're talking about a state line there and his vehicle being found just on the other side of that state line, is it potentially that the person that committed this crime or witnessed something they shouldn't have seen is trying to throw the investigation off by moving the vehicle back over the state line so that it would be in a different jurisdiction? We have seen quite frequently on this channel that sheriff's departments, police departments, they don't always work great with each other. Sometimes there's a bit of control that comes into play with who owns the case. Thankfully, in this situation, we're seeing some collaboration that's going on here. We've got the police force from where he actually lives, or the sheriff's department. We've got the police force from the neighboring town, Danville. And then to the south, I believe it's the sheriff's department down there also for Caswell County, covering all the different areas that there might be some element, that criminal nexus that was described at the start of this episode. So I'm really happy to see that. We really don't see that all the time in these cases. And here it's mentioned that a reward of up to $1,000 is being offered by the Pittsylvania County Crimestoppers for information leading to Mr. Hurt's safe return. I've heard that that amount has actually been increased. Robbie's dad has kicked in another $1,000, and someone else in the family kicked in another $1,000. So the reward is now up to $3,000. If you happen to have information about Robbie's disappearance or anything that relates to this case, check the description box below. I've got all the contact that you need, including the Crimestoppers contact info, if you want to try to get that reward. But outside of that, I hope you'll do the right thing and send that info in to the departments so they can act on it and hopefully bring Robbie's family the answers to the questions that they've been sitting with for several months now. Continuing at virginiafirst.com, Pittsylvania County Sheriffs Office gives updates about search for missing man. So obviously the press conference they did worked. There is a new run of articles that come out about this, and they have some pretty good detail. The press conference runs about 30 minutes long. Of course, I'll include a link to that in the sources down below so you can check it out for yourself, but we're going to cover some of the details here right now. This article is from January 31st, 2019. Hurt is a 37-year-old man with a wife and 3 children. He has been missing since December 9th. He is described as someone with challenges, but is a family man. His routine is working and coming home, and for him not to come home for a few days is unusual, authorities said. So let's talk about a few different points there. First of all, we're hearing that he's got some kind of challenges. I did run some court records, and I did see that it looks like he is, or likely in the past, was battling some form of opioid addiction. But the charges that I saw for that were really, really old, like over a decade. So is there some potential that this has come back into his life at this point? I think that's what the sheriffs are referring to in the press conference. On top of that, they're talking about the fact that it's not normal for him to come home for a few days. So what is normal is he does tend to disappear. He has left before, but he would only be gone for a day or two. Actually, I believe they even locked it down to like 24 to 36 hours, something like that. He's just known to deal with stress in that way. He does leave, he takes off. Now, the person that I spoke to said that when he does that, he usually contacts his grandmother. So within a matter of a couple days, knowing that he's not following the same pattern that he usually does, some of the family was concerned fairly quickly around that. Let's continue here. Hurt is a carpenter by trade and was employed by a company in the city of Danville. Investigators followed leads about possible sightings of Hurt, but none have panned out yet. The sheriff's office said they are searching for a man that may want to be missing, but there could be a criminal aspect to his disappearance. They describe it almost as a dual investigation. So this is one of the tough things. In cases that I look into here on the channel, it is very frequent that we hear this person would never leave, would never not contact their family or reach out to their kids or call someone and let them know. This might be the first case that we've covered where this person has a pattern of actually disappearing. So the likelihood that he might have left the situation, particularly if there was some really bad fight, and if we're talking about the potential, maybe he could have fallen off the wagon. Maybe he was struggling with his addictions again. Maybe that was impacting his marriage. Did his wife say it's over? Was there some type of conflict to that level going on? Could that actually motivate him to leave the situation and to disappear for a longer period of time? I think that is a possibility. Where I get concerned is he doesn't have his wallet, doesn't have his truck, left his job behind. How's he taking care of himself if this is really what's going on? It doesn't look like there is a mechanism for him to do that unless he's relying completely on someone else to take care of him, which it's still a possibility, but being this far out, this many months out, I don't know how strong of a possibility it is. So I really like that they mentioned this dual investigation. They kind of talk about that at several points. They're looking at it through the lens of, we know right now it's only a missing persons case, but there could be other elements to this that move it into a crime. And they're willing to be open to that. Just to hear that, it's a bit of a change from what I usually hear from law enforcement in cases like this. They typically won't consider any criminal aspect unless there's something very direct that's leading them to that. Like they find the person's blood in the vehicle and there's enough of it found that it looks like the person could have been seriously injured, or there's some type of weapon that's found. Usually there has to be something very obvious before they will move into the mindset of considering that this might be a crime. But here, it sounds like they've already kind of got their ears up in that direction, and I'm thankful to hear that. I hope that they're able to find the information they need to really make that determination. Ultimately, I hope they find Robbie. Investigators said their investigation led to one of Hurt's friends who has since been questioned. So the friend that he went to see, we know that person was questioned. Do we know any of the details of that? No. Do we know anything about this type of relationship? Is this a friend from work? We have no idea. Could this potentially be part of Robbie's old life, or when he was struggling with the drug addiction? Could this be a friend from that time? I don't know. We don't have those details at all. The only things that I did hear about this from the source that I spoke to was it's an older man. And when asked, is there any potential that, could he have attacked Robbie in some way or something like that? It doesn't seem feasible. The general gist is that he's not a very strong person and he's a bit of an older man. I don't know if he's in the best health, but there didn't seem to be any bite to the thought that this guy could have been someone that harmed Robbie in some way. Now, that does open up some other possibilities, particularly if we're talking about a situation where Robbie might be struggling with his addiction again. Was there some type of like an overdose scenario? We talk about that in many of these cases here as well. Could the friend be covering up because, Robbie's life ended on the friend's property or something along those lines? Maybe. And is that criminal? There's usually a criminal aspect if you're manipulating a corpse in any way. So yeah, there could certainly be some charges. Is that necessarily as bad as, the person actually killed him and hid him somewhere or something along those lines? I don't know. It's up to you to answer if that's as bad or not. But there's different levels to the type of crime that might be going on in this case. And that might be part of the reason why the sheriff's department is staying so open to those possibilities. It seems really weird. And we just talked about a case where someone dropped off the vehicle. It looks like in that case, the person might have actually killed his wife, and the vehicle was once again within a 1 mile radius of where they were living. So the fact that I'm hearing that Robbie's truck is being found about a mile away from where that friend lives concerns me. Is it possible that friend drove the truck out to that location, dropped it off at that location, and then walked home? Maybe, but keep in mind, middle of a snowstorm. But it is still only 1 mile, certainly not impossible, especially if you have the right type of clothing with you. The other thing that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I just wanted to pull up the map to show this to you guys, is if his friend did live down here, and if Robbie would use Highway 86 here and kind of take what Google is suggesting would be the route back to his home, why would he get off at this exit? Why would his vehicle be found over here? If we take a look at where this continues, the 737, it kind of wraps and it comes back up And yeah, but it meets up essentially with the same highway that he would have gotten off of. So why would he have gotten off there or made the right turn there and gotten his truck stuck in this area when, there isn't a clear road that's going to give him any form of shortcut, and the main road just takes him right back to the same highway he just got off of? The location of this vehicle, if this is accurate, that it was at this intersection, does bother me a little bit because it doesn't seem like he had any good reason for being there. Now, it could be that there's some other aspect that we don't know about. Maybe there was family or a friend of his that lives in that particular area, and he went and hung out with that one friend for about an hour and then left to go to someone else's place. Or maybe he was going to stay over at someone else's house that night or something along those lines. It could be explained. But if his intent was to drive home, this move of getting off of 86 there does not necessarily make a lot of sense. Now, they also put out a timeline essentially of the investigation, but let's go through that. This is at WSET.com. December 9th, Hurt, who lives in the Rock Springs community in Ringgold, left home but did not return home that night. The sheriff's office said it is not uncommon for him to leave and be gone for a few days. December 12th, Hurt's truck was found very close to the state line of North Carolina. His truck was searched and returned to his family. The sheriff's office said that this also led to a friend that Hurt was reportedly meeting in the area. The friend was located, but Hurt was not found, and they didn't get any more information. Authorities wouldn't confirm if it was a male or a female friend. Now, I'm just already seeing a problem with this timeline. They're saying that they took actions essentially for looking into him as a missing person on December 12th. But even according to their own timeline, it's not reported yet. December 14th, Hurt's wife, Emily, reported to the sheriff's office that she had not heard from Hurt. She had reached out to his friends, but couldn't get in touch with him. His phone had been turned off. So, not that it's like a case-breaking element, but I don't understand the discrepancies here. Did the sheriffs know that he was missing on December 12th? And if they did, and they came across his truck, wouldn't you have filed the missing persons report on that day? It's really, really strange. I don't know why they didn't have it filed until December 14th. December 19th, investigators traveled to Caswell County, North Carolina, to interview potential witnesses. I think we know who they're talking about. December 20th, Danville Police and the Sheriff's Office met on Goodyear Boulevard in Danville, where witnesses said that Hurt had been spotted. A search was conducted with law enforcement and cadaver dogs, but they did not find Hurt. December 25th, a possible sighting was reported, but it was determined not to be him. January 5th, a second search was conducted near Goodyear Boulevard in Danville using drones and cadaver dogs and included law enforcement from Danville, Pittsylvania County, and Caswell County. Hurt was still not found. Sheriff Mike Taylor said Hurt went missing around the time that our area got a big snowstorm with more than a foot of snow. That impacted their search, and they said that could have impacted Hurt's travel as well. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I seem to recall that he said it didn't impact their searches, but maybe those were the searches that happened after, like the search that happened on January 5th. I'm sure some of the snow is still going to be out there. I mean, you should see what my front yard looks like right now. But outside of that, the first search happened on December 20th, which is, over a week from when they actually found his vehicle. So I don't know that it would have impacted their search all that much. And I seem to recall him saying that it didn't, but maybe I got that wrong. Hurt is from Bluefield, West Virginia, and moved to the Roanoke area around 2007, 2008. He was working in the city of Danville for a company renovating a building off Craighead Street, the sheriff's office said, and many people have been interviewed. Continuing at WSLS.com, Taylor said Hurt, who was stressed, left on his own and family members were there at the time he left. Hurt is married and a father of 3. So the person that I spoke to said they have heard that it was indeed an argument between him and his wife regarding some form of drug use and him possibly falling off the wagon. So, but once again, I'm hearing that from a source. I'm not getting that from a media source, so please take that with a grain of salt. But I was just wondering, because the sheriffs kept talking about it too, the fact that he was stressed, but they're not really being open about that. They're just saying that he's a man who has issues and he was really stressed at the time that he left. So I asked the person, that's what they told me. If you live around where this has happened and you want to show support to the family, there's an event that is coming up this weekend on Saturday. It's also part of the reason why I wanted to get this video done this week. I'll have a link to this down below to the Eventsy page. Please join the Aware Foundation with family and friends of Robbie Hurt at the Old Dutch Supermarket located in Danville, Virginia from 12 to 2 p.m. on March 9th, 2019. The family will be available for interviews during this time. Flyers will be available to the public as well. We believe someone in the community knows where Robert is. There is a reward being offered to anyone that has information that can help authorities locate Robert Hurt. And just a reminder, the reward's $3,000. The contact information is down below. There's also a GoFundMe that has been opened for this case. They're essentially looking to hire a private investigator. Now, I have heard so many terrible stories about private investigators. I'm a little leery, and especially in a case like this. This case, at least from the way I'm seeing it, from how it's being presented through the press conference and through the media, this case has a few distinct possibilities, and I don't know that a private investigator is going to be able to crack the type of possibilities that we have going on here. If something happened to him at that friend's house, that's going to be a really tough thing to figure out unless the private investigator is going to be all over the family and friends of that friend looking for nuggets of info that the friend might have spilled, potentially on purpose or accidentally. Outside of that, we know that there was some type of conflict that was going on at his home. Are there other elements of that could be coming into play here? Possibly. Now, could a private investigator help in that case? This is me going completely off the top of my head. I'm not saying that this is any information that's come from a source. Certainly did not come from the articles. But let's assume that there was some type of love triangle or something along those lines. A third person that is in some way related to what has happened to Robbie. Could a PI help shake that out? Maybe. So I don't know if the family really feels like that is something that's reasonable or realistic to go chasing after. So I don't know. I hear so many bad stories about private investigators. I really want them to think about this. And I know in the GoFundMe, they're saying this is a private investigator that has a good reputation. I know in many cases before I've suggested, I really wish that this family would get a private investigator. I personally collaborate with a few private investigators pretty frequently nowadays. So I do know there is value to them. Do I think that there's value to one being brought into this case based off what I'm seeing here? Like I said, unless they believe in the possibility that there's some third party that is tied up in the relationship in some way, I don't necessarily see it. That being said, thanks to me and my supporters, we are still going to donate to this GoFundMe because I want to make sure the family has everything they need for flyers, to print more of those, have more of those available on Saturday and at whatever events they do after that. If they want to potentially do some type of vigil at some point, anything like that, I want to make sure that they have the funds to do that. So thank you to my supporters. We are going to be making a donation to this campaign as well. And to the family, if you look in the description box below, I always have a link on these Searchlight videos to my missing persons tips, and you might want to check that out. There's some good information there, particularly if you are going to have some other events after this. I haven't found a Facebook page specifically put together for Robbie as a missing person. I've seen some of his family's pages, which are kind of close to acting like that, but it's not quite the same as making a specific group for, Robbie Hurt missing. So information on how you can do that is also at that link down below. All the best tips that I could pull together from numerous sources and looking into hundreds of cases at this point, I include there. So there might be something helpful to you guys. I hope that you'll click that link and check it out. There is a Web Sleuths thread on this. It's only 1 page long. It's basically just referring to several of the articles, and it has a copy of the press conference as well in there. Like I said, no name is profile, but I will be taking care of that very soon. It usually takes a couple days for them to be turned on publicly, so you might not see it immediately. But if you're watching this video a few days after I've posted this, in the description box below, I'll update it. So you might see that there's a name as profile down there. If you click on that, it should be for Robbie. So that is it. Let me just check my notes real quick. I want to see if there's anything else I want to share with you about what the source and I discussed. The source did tell me that the friend in North Carolina seems to have put out several stories. One of them is the possibility that there was some type of overdose situation that happened at his house. In one of the versions of that story, a neighbor who's a nurse came over and administered Narcan, which I wasn't even positive what that is, but it is essentially the brand name for a drug called naloxone that blocks the effect of an opioid. So, and I see these opioid overdose kits that are for sale, and apparently they include Narcan in them. So, and please keep in mind, this is just one of the stories that the source heard. I can't tell you guys if this is actually true or not. There is another variation on that story, which is no, there was no next door neighbor nurse that came by. The friend actually administered the Narcan. Robbie recovered and then left. There's another version of the story where Robbie got a phone call and then left. And in terms of Robbie's wallet being found at his friend's house, there's 2 variations on that. One of them is that his wallet was found on the friend's couch. Another is that when Robbie showed up, his pants were wet from the snow, and he actually changed pants and he left his wallet in the first pair of pants. Now, I have a lot of questions where my mind runs with that. I mean, did he have a change of clothes with him? Did he have the type of fight with his wife where he knew he was going to be gone for a couple days and he kind of loaded up some clothes and went? Did the friend lend him some clothes? Is that why we have some description? Maybe the friend remembers the clothing that he gave Robbie to change into. In particular, it would be, pants and socks, right? I don't know. I'm just telling you guys what was discussed on the phone call. But the way I'm looking at it, we've got a few different possibilities. Accident, if it is an overdose, certainly a possibility, but also accident as in his truck got stuck. He didn't know how to get the truck back out. He left to try to find help or some type of resource. And we know that there was a pretty incredible weather event that's going on at that time. So is there some possibility that he had some type of accidental death related to that? Maybe. The possibility that he's out there, that he left this situation. We don't know enough conditions about what this fight was about, but maybe it was bad enough that he decided he was just going to leave the situation. His family's saying that's really not likely. He's got 3 kids that he's leaving behind in terms of doing that. Have we seen that happen in other cases? It does occasionally happen, but the percentage of it is very, very low. So what are we looking at here, guys? I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. And please keep in mind, we really need to keep these comments respectful. We can talk about theories, we can share information about that, but the likelihood that his family is going to come across this video, I can tell you, is already, I know it's going to happen because some of them have been told about this video being produced. But outside of that, he's got 3 kids out there. So please watch the comments that you put down there. This is someone that might be struggling from a very severe addiction, and I don't believe that means that we need to care about him any less. If you have friends that live in this area, please share this video with them. Let's raise exposure to Robbie's case and see if we can help his family find the answers they're looking for. Before we end today's episode, I have to thank several new patrons, starting with Noemi. Thank you so much. Casey M., Tracy Riddell, James Bennett, Marie Joelle, and it cut off your last name. Sorry, Marie Joelle. Hertubis, I hope I'm saying that right. Elena Engel, Amy Hall, and Ann Coggle. Thank you so much. On top of that, we had Michaela and Tabitha both increase their pledges. I can't do this without your guys' help, and I'm so thankful that you're there doing that so we can do things like we're doing today in terms of donating to the case that we covered. Take care, everyone. I'll see you back here on Friday with a brand new episode of Brainscratch on the Lord and Arts channel.